Hey, what's up? Alex here with Focus Camera, and today we're going to talk about Sigma's newest mirrorless exclusive APS-C lens, the 18 to 50mm f2.8 DC-DN lens. Sigma's been really excited to get this lens out there, and they've been touting it as their new workhorse do-it-all lens at this price point. So today we're going to be testing it out. We took it out to Prospect Park in Brooklyn, got some photos, got some videos. Quick thank you to Sigma for lending us this lens. We had a lot of fun using it. Let's just get right into the review. First thing you're going to notice about this lens at 18 to 50mm is its size and weight. This lens is portable. For a standard zoom crop sensor lens with an aperture of f2.8, this is going to be the smallest and lightest of its kind. It measures less than 3 inches long and just over 10 ounces in weight. Holding it in my hands, it has that same Sigma lens feel as it's made from the same thermally composite material as the other lenses in their line. This gives the lens a nice metal feel without weighing it down too much. For our review, we put it on the Sony ZV-E10, another very lightweight camera, and then put that combination onto a gimbal. Just from the start, that lightweight experience really made a ton of difference. The only real downside I see regarding the size of this lens is its 55mm filter thread, which a lot of you will probably have to buy a step-down ring to attach your filter to it because it is kind of an unorthodox size. Otherwise, the portability of this lens was outstanding, and I had a lot of fun shooting with it on the gimbal especially. Other than the size, the other physical features of this lens are pretty standard. There's no buttons on it, there's no manual to autofocus switch. Really, you get what you buy at this price point. There is a stepping motor built into the lens to help with the autofocus, and using the focus rings and the zoom on this lens do feel super smooth, as with the other Sigma lenses. In order to test this lens out properly, we went over to Prospect Park, and the first thing we did was put it on our ZV-E10 and then put that on a gimbal, as you saw previously. We shot almost exclusively at the 18mm focal length because we could get super wide and super smooth shots with that, but we could also still get really close to our subjects. As you can see with some of the shots that have the trees in them. At 18mm, I'm able to get really, really close to those subjects, which add a cool little effect to it all. The real plus of using this lens on a gimbal is how lightweight it is. Gimbal fatigue is a real thing. Normally we shoot with our Sony a7 III with either the 24-70 G Master or a 50mm lens. And honestly, I can only shoot for a couple hours before my shoulder completely gives out. However, shooting with this, combined with the Sony ZV-E10, I was able to shoot a lot longer and shoot more effectively because those shots stayed really smooth. My shoulders were not sore at all. I cannot emphasize how much of a difference it made shooting it with what felt like 10 less pounds than normal. As for the autofocus with this lens, combined with the Sony ZV-E10, we had our subject move in and out of frame, back and forth, up and down, very basic test, and it was really, really fast, as to be expected with a Sony camera and a Sigma lens. I was really impressed. The last thing to note about this lens is its 18 to 50mm focal length, which with an APS-C sensor is going to be more like 27 to 75, which does put it in that wheelhouse of that workhorse do-it-all zoom lens that everybody loves. I found it was wide enough to still vlog with and get those nice selfie shots, but also that having that 50mm option made it great for portrait photography or just doing studio videography like I am right now. While it shouldn't be your go-to option as a macro lens, the fact that you can get some macro photos at 18mm is really impressive, especially considering all the other things this lens can do. Shooting these close-ups, I really had to put the lens pretty much touching the flowers and the leaves and the bees to get these macro shots, which was really awesome that I could get super, super, super close to my subject and still get an in-focus shot. One of the downsides of that though was getting close to those bees was actually a little scary. Getting so close to those bees was a little scary. It could be a downside that you do have to get super, super close to your subjects in order to get macro photography with this lens, but because it's so lightweight and you can really just get in there with one arm and the camera, it did make it really, really easy to do. The lens isn't the sharpest at this distance, But again, the fact that you can get any macro photography with an 18 to 50 millimeter while it does so much else was really fun. And maybe it's not my favorite part of this lens, but it was a really cool feature. Shooting throughout the focal range of this lens, I found it did really well at 18 and 50 millimeters. While I preferred 50 millimeters, I was impressed with how it did at 18. First, we were able to get some long exposure shots at 18 millimeters of a waterfall. And as you can see, having that wide of an option, I was able to get the bottom and the top of the waterfall in, as well as the bridge above it. So I really was able to frame up the shot the way I liked it because of how wide I could go at 18 millimeters. Then in this shot of the lily pads, you can see how sharp it is in the center of the photo. It does start to lose some sharpness towards the edges, but it really does better than I would have expected for such a wide focal length. Even objects at a distance retain sharpness and detail, which I was really impressed by. I was super far away from this hut, but if you zoom in on the tiles, you can see how sharp they really were. And at 18 millimeters, I gotta say, super impressive for a lens, especially at this price point. After testing out the wide angle photography with this lens, we did shoot some portraits at 50 millimeters. We actually were able to set up one of our Westcott lights and have some models with us, which was really cool to do. Shooting with the Sigma on our Sony ZV-E10, I think this combo punched way above its weight class. As you can see from the photos with our models, the sharpness on their face, the details on her sweater really stand out, and I think were pretty amazing for a lens of this price. Well, if you're using an APS-C sensor camera and you need an everyday workhorse lens that you're gonna just bring with you everywhere you go and be using all the time, I really struggle to find a better option at this focal length and at this price than the Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter f2.8. It's great for vloggers who can still get that wide selfie shot that they all want, and portrait photographers, landscape photographers, anyone who wants to put it on a gimbal. Again, it's great to use. It barely takes up any room in your camera bag, so you can complement it with a host of other lenses that you may have, or honestly, you can trust that this lens will be enough to get most of the jobs you need done. Sigma has really hit on an affordable and versatile lens here. If you just bought an APS-C camera and you want a starting kit lens, that's not gonna be the kit lens, of course, this is probably the best option for you. The last video we shot was for the 5 best lenses under $650 for the new Sony ZV-E10. This lens had not come out yet, and I really wish it did, because it definitely would have made that list. Portraits, wide angle photography, macro photography, this lens did really well in all of those categories. That's just about gonna do it for today's review. If you have any questions regarding the lens, please leave a comment below. I'd love to get back to you. As always, leave a like below and subscribe to Focus Camera.